Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Economics Simplified with Miss Ellen. My channel is designed to help those who want to gain interest in economics, understand economics, and also help to simplify the subject for them. Meaning, my targeted group it's the Form 1s or the first year students who are gradually gaining ground in the subject. The channel will also be a form of revision to the second years and then the third year students to help them to revise on what they already know but then don't actually understand. Yeah, so that is what the channel is all about. What I want you to do is you help me to subscribe to the channel, you like, you share to as many as you can, and then you leave a comment below. Today, I am here to show you how to solve questions in economics. That is the essay type questions in economics. Remember in my previous video, I came out with a general rule, which I have also called it the 6 golden rules. The first we said was know the mark allocated to the question. That will guide you to know whether to write. So I term it as the 6 golden rules. Now, rule number 1, know the mark allocated to the question. That will help you, that is guide you to know whether you are to write a lot about the question or just shallow definition. Then the second golden rule, we have understand the question. Remember my popular saying that you understanding the question is one way of solving the question. Then the third is have a mental thought about the question. That is, you brainstorm the question mentally. Then we have golden rule 4, which is write down your thought about the question. Whatever you've thought about, you write them down. Then the fifth is make sure your point tallies with your explanation. Some of you give a very good point, but then your explanation it's something else. So please make sure it tallies. Then the last golden rule, that is give examples when necessary. Support it with an example. Now we take this sample question 1, which is with an example each, explain the following concepts. A, we have ends, then scarcity, opportunity cost, and then free goods. They are all having 2 marks each. So this is where you are going to apply the golden rule in solving the question. So the first we said know the marks. The mark allocated to each of the concepts is 2. That is 2 marks. So it means that with these 2 marks, you are not to go deep into the concept. Then the second rule, that is understand the question. The question right in front of you, make sure you understand it. Then you have a mental view or a mental thought. That is, think about the question before you start writing it. Don't rush to write and then you get to the middle, you realize that you deviated, so I have to start all over. No, have that mental view. Then you should also write down the mental view or the mental thought. Then we have make sure your point tallies with your explanation. Then lastly, as I said, you give examples when necessary. Now, since the question is with an example each, so it means that you are going to apply that of the 6th golden rule very well. Now, for the sake of time, I'm going to explain just 2 of the concepts. I'm taking that of ends and then scarcity. The rest, I have made a video on the basic concept in economics, so you refer to that. Now, we take the first one, which is ends. We all know that ends are one's goals, one's desires, objectives, aims, among others. That is what ends. Then you support it with an example. Now, my example given Yeah, so the example is a student having the goal of furthering their education to a university level after the SHS, obviously. Then another is having the goal of obtaining a career as a teacher, as a nurse, as a doctor, a lawyer, what have you. Now, having given this, this is how the marks will be awarded. You giving a definition for end will award you 1 mark, then supporting it with an example will also give you the extra mark. So at the end of it all, you are having your full marks. Remember, you are not to dash any mark to any teacher or any examiner. Get your full marks. Then let's look at that of scarcity. We explain scarcity to be the limited supply of resources in relation to human needs. The limited supply of resources in relation to human needs. So an example of a scarcity is land. We know how scarce land is. And then that of capital, example, money. They are very scarce in society. So having done this, as I said, you defining scarcity fetches you 1 mark. Then the example will also give you 1 mark, meaning you had your full marks. The rest of the concept, please refer to my previous video on basic concepts in economics. Let's move to sample question 2. A is describe each of the following sectors of the economy. We have the primary sector, we have the secondary sector, and that of the tertiary sector. The question is describe each of the following sectors of the economy. Now, using the golden rule, the first we said was know the mark allocated to that particular question. So you realize that the mark is 3 each. So it means that something needs to go into it. Then we said understand the question. You have a mental thought. You write down the mental thoughts. Then you make sure that your point tallies with your explanation. And then, as I said, you support it with an example if necessary. So we take the first one, which is the primary sector. Let's see how to define the primary sector or what goes into the primary sector. With the primary sector, it involves the extraction of raw materials from the environment or the land. The extraction of raw materials from the land. So example of raw material, we have that of we have cocoa, we have mineral deposits such as the crude oil, we have gold, we have diamond. So that is what goes on under the primary sector. Then we have activities or economic activities such as we have farming, mining, hunting, fishing, among others. So that is what goes on in the primary sector. So you realize that this is how they are going to give the marks. You defining or you telling us what happened in the primary sector will give you, let's say, a mark or 2 marks, 2 marks for that. And then you giving us the economic activity involved in the primary sector, such as the farming, the hunting, the fishing will also fetch you another mark, having your 3 points. Remember, I said we are not dashing any examiner or any teacher any of the mark. Then let's take that of the secondary sector. It also involves activities that changes or transform the raw materials which are produced by the primary sector into either finished or the semi-finished commodities or what goods. So they are into the transformation or the changing of whatever it's produced by the primary sector, that is the raw material. They change it into either semi-finished or finished what products. Now, activities that goes on under the secondary sector, we have that of the food processing. Example, that is processing of, let's say, fish into the tinned fish or tomatoes into tinned tomatoes. Then we have that of the oil refinery, we have constructions, we have manufacturing, and then we have baking. So these are the economic activities which are practiced under the secondary sector. Then we take the last sector, which is the tertiary sector. With that, that is, they involve services. So they render services to both the primary and the secondary sector. As I said, everything is about services, services, services. Now, activities that goes on under the sector can either be a professional one, such as teaching, banking, the medical practice, or it can be commercial based, like that of the exportation and then importations of goods and then services. Now, economic activities, we have teaching, we have medicine, banking, insurance, transportation, shipping, among others. So that is what goes into the tertiary sector. So it means with this, having defined or um, having to put down the what goes on into the tertiary sector, then you support it with examples. That is examples of economic activities which goes on under the tertiary sector. So with this, you are done with the first part of the question. Now let's move on to the second part of the question, which is explain any three contributions of the primary sector to the economic development of your country. And then the mark given is 12 marks. So using our golden rule, as I've said, the first is know the mark allocated to the question. That will guide you. Now, the mark allocated to it, as we can see, is 12 marks. So it means that it involves a lot. Then the question, that is, you try to understand it. The question is asking of the role played by the primary sector to the economic development of your country. So make sure that you don't only give us the role, but then you link the role played by the primary sector to the economic development of your country. So let me go through with you some of the roles played by the primary sector and then how to develop the point or how to explain the point. We take the first one, that is provision of food. So let's see how you are going to define it so that you get your full marks. Since the question you are to give 3 rows and then the marks allocated is 12 marks, it means that every point you are able to raise and then explain fetches you 4 marks. So have this in mind. Now, the fact that you've brought the first point, which is provision of food, will give you 1 mark. Then in your explanation, you tell us the type of food which is produced from the primary sector. So type of food such as all agricultural products. It can be either tomatoes, it can be plantain, it can be cassava, it can be onion, pepper, what have you. So you give us that example. So you giving us the example will also fetch you another mark. Then you tell us that is the consumers or the laborers in that country, when they consume the food, what would they gain from the food? So it means that once this food are consumed, they are getting what the necessary nutrients that will make them very healthy, very energetic, for them to be efficient to produce what goods and services that will lead to the economic development of the country. To realize that you've been able to link the point, which is the provision of food, how it's going to help to grow your economy or develop your economy. So with this, you are getting your full marks. That is for the first point. Then the second is it serves as a source of foreign exchange to the country. Serves as a source of foreign exchange to the country. Now, the fact that you've mentioned this point, it gives you 1 mark. Then this is how you are going to explain the point. You tell us how we get the foreign exchange. So foreign exchange, it's gotten as a result of the exportation of goods and services. So the fact that you mentioned the word exportation or exports will give you another mark. Then you tell us the type of goods which are being exported to other countries. So goods such as we have cocoa, we have mineral deposits such as gold, we have the bauxites, what have you. So you giving us that example will also give you marks. So please don't forget. Then you in your explanation, you also tell us that after the goods and services are being exported, In return, the country it's getting what? A foreign exchange or a foreign currency. So you also talk about how the foreign exchange will be used in the country. So you mentioned the fact that the foreign exchange will be used for developmental projects. So the fact that you mentioned developmental projects, you get another mark. Then finally, you tell us what type of developmental projects in terms of it can be construction of roads, building of schools, hospitals, or bridges. So if you're able to explain up to this point, you get your 4 marks free without dashing any mark to anybody. Then we move to the third point, which is revenue to the government. It serves as a source of revenue to the government. With this point, it will give you 1 mark. Then you tell us how the revenue is being gotten by the government. So the government is getting revenue from the workers in the primary sector. So that of the farmers, the hunters, the fishermen. They are paying revenue in a form of tax to the government. Now, the fact that you also mentioned that government is getting revenue from the workers through the payment of tax, it will give you another mark. So please, it's very important. The government is getting revenue through the payment of tax by the workers in the sector. Then the next thing is you tell us what the government does with the tax he has collected. So the tax are being used for developmental projects in the country. So you also mentioning the fact that taxes are being used for developmental projects, it gives you another mark. Then finally, you give us examples of the type of developmental projects you are talking about, such as construction of roads, the building of houses, hospitals, schools, etc. Then you get your 4 marks free. I call it free because you didn't struggle to get it. Then the next point, we have employment avenue. You tell us the type of employment you are getting from the primary sector. So employment such as we have the farming, we have hunting, we have fishermen, we have those who work in the mining industries, in the forestry, etc. Then you tell us that the importance of people getting employment from the sector. We know that when you are employed, you are getting what? Revenue. And then this revenue will help you to have a good standard of living, or it makes living very comfortable for you without depending on the government. So the fact that you are receiving revenue or you are being employed in the sector, it makes you an independent citizen. Then you tell us that since the sector is providing the citizens with employment, it helps to reduce the number of unemployment rates in the country, therefore leading to the economic growth or economic development of the country. Then you get your full marks. Then the next is the source of raw materials. The source of raw materials. We know that the sector provides raw material. Then you give us type of raw material. So the type of raw material, we get cocoa, we get cotton, and then other raw materials. Then you tell us what the raw materials are being used for. Now, these raw materials, they feed the industrial sector or the secondary sector. That is what the sort of raw material, or these are the roles played by the primary sector to the economic development of a nation or a country or an economy. So we bring the lesson to an end. Please and please remember to subscribe to my channel. You like, you share, and you make sure to leave a comment below. Thank you very much and have a great time.